Steve Poland here, and when I upgraded to my 220-gallon aquarium, I knew that it would need a canopy. It's not a mandatory thing by any means, but I've always thought that having a canopy makes for a more finished look, which is important to me since this tank is in my living area. Unfortunately, it's not easy to find a canopy for a tank with this footprint. It's 6 feet long by 2 feet deep, so any canopy made for a 180 or a 210/220 will work. But most of the ones out there are expensive. Aquion makes a nice pine canopy that matches my stand, but I've never seen one that was longer than 4 feet. So I decided to build my own based on this design. I went with 1x8 boards for the sides and 1x6 boards for the lid. I bought what they call select pine because it tends to be better quality lumber. It's more expensive, but it's usually worth it. My first step was to smooth out the sides of the boards with a router. I used a 1/4 inch roundover bit and ran each board through a router table. I think this step is really important and makes the finished product look much more professional. I then cut all of the boards to length with a miter saw. The total dimensions will be 75 by 27, which will allow it to fit around the top bracing of the tank. I then began the construction. I glued the sides together and then reinforced them with a pneumatic nail gun. The fixed portion of the lid was attached the same way. I cut a furring strip into pieces to use on the inside. These pieces rest on the top of the tank, but allow the canopy to cover the black plastic rim. The moving portion of the lid is just 2 long pieces fastened together with some pieces of birch plywood that I cut to size. You really won't be able to see them unless the lid is open. With all that completed, I had the beginnings of my canopy. It was now time to paint. I started with a coat of primer, which I rolled on, and then went over lightly with a brush just to remove the roller bumps. Once it was dry, I moved on to the paint. I used a black latex paint and a satin finish to match the stand. I did 2 coats. The final step was to attach the moving portion of the lid. I used 2 pivot hinges, which weren't easy to find but were pretty easy to install. For perspective, here is a shot of the tank without the canopy. Notice the amount of light bleeding out into the room. And this is the tank with the canopy in place. It's hard to tell on video, but it makes a huge difference. It makes me feel like this tank is finally complete. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and if this is your first time here, then I would love to have you subscribe, because each week I bring you a new video sharing my experiences in the aquarium hobby. I give updates on my tanks, review products, show you DIY projects, and share tips and tricks to help you take your tank to the next level. Hit subscribe to follow along. Have a good one.